Okay, fine. So good morning again, once to everybody, and I welcome you back to our second lecture on machine learning. So in our previous lecture, we studied about the syllabus that we are going to cover, the syllabus that is offered in this course, and today we'll be starting off with the first module. We'll be having a basic, understanding. Though the first module doesn't deal with much of, in-depth anything in depth with respect to algorithms, but we'll be having a brief overview like what is the machine learning problems, what kind of machine learning problems that we face, and later we can, we'll be discussing upon how to design the solution for those problems and all. So let me share the screen for you. Okay, so this is just wait. Yeah, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the textbook as we discussed in the previous lecture. This is your prescribed textbook and which covers everything. So it is quite a good textbook, mostly throughout the country, wherever the machine learning courses have been taught. This is the mostly used textbook, even by the researchers, because it covers everything. It covers basics of everything, not in the in depth, not advanced topics are discussed, but it covers like it touch upon all the topics, right? So all the you can say important areas to be focused when a particular person is starting to learn machine learning. So these few topics which are discussed in this book covers everything, right? So let me scroll it down for you. So it's a quite good textbook which covers everything as you can see here. Let me zoom in. Yeah, starting off with the introduction and concepts learning with some genetic specific algorithms and decision tree learning and artificial neural network. There are few chapters which are not much use to us for time being, but later you can, if you find any particular topic much interesting, you can, go beyond the scope of this syllabus out of interest and deep dive into the advanced techniques which have been discussed here. So before starting off with the first module, which actually starts from here, well-posed learning problems. Few things which I want to discuss here, though the book is very much like, to the point, but few disclaimers given by the author is that this book presents the field of machine learning, describing a variety of learning paradigms, algorithms, theoretical results, and applications. So, mostly, whatever the analysis or the study which has been discussed in this particular book, there are a lot of problems discussed, a lot of variety of problems have been discussed, discussing various algorithms. But the results which are there, they are theoretically based results, and maybe in few problems, there are practical examples which are given. There is explanation to the practical examples given, but mostly the results which are we will be discussing. For example, a particular solution for a particular problem. So for that particular solution, the results which we have got for that particular solution, they are mostly based on theoretical aspects, right? And also the applications which are based, they are more of a like applications which are based on theoretical concepts. Of course, there are few applications which are discussed by taking the practical aspects, but mostly it will be the results which are discussed here are more of theoretical. So this is the disclaimer I would say, which is given by the author itself. So is the content visible? Are you able to see the text?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So another thing would like to mention here is the author has mentioned that while the material in this book is based on result from many diverse fields, the reader need not be an expert in any of them. Right. So as I was mentioning, that the book touches upon all the basics of the machine learning, and not necessarily that any. I mean, it doesn't cover any particular thing into depth. Of course, there are few. I mean, problems which are discussed uh, up till few depth, you can say, not completely, but some depth, sufficient enough to understand the concept. So that's what has been a disclaimer, given the disclaimer by the author, that the reader need not be an expert in any of them, right? And the key idea are presented from these fields using a non-specialized vocabulary with unfamiliar terms and concepts introduced as the need arises. So as it is already given by the author, that non-specialized vocabulary, so we can expect few maybe grammatical mistakes or maybe some few spelling mistake or not properly framed sentences, few semantics, you can say. So this is already told by the author, because the whole motive here is to just make the concept understand without much focusing on the grammar part of it or vocabulary part of it. And also we may encounter a few unfamiliar terms, a few terms which are more of research based terms, but we may not understand at the first go itself. But those terms are only introduced as and when it is needed, because without those terms we cannot discuss those concepts, right? As though I mean, though those terms, there might be history behind it, how those terms have evolved, but those terms are used here as and when the need arises, just to discuss that factor, right? And not much get into depth. Similar like mathematics, where there will be few terms in mathematics you won't know the meaning of it, right? But still, those terms are there because they were part of few theorems or few derivations or something like that. So likewise, we may encounter a few unfamiliar terms, but sure, I'm here to clarify upon those few things which might be useful for us to understand that particular concept, right? So we'll look upon those things as and when we proceed. Nothing to be worried, but just for the overview, I'm telling you this. But apart from that, this textbook actually will make you jack of all, right? You, by the time you cover this course, this subject, you will be able to analyze the problems, you will be able to see problems from a machine learning perspective, and you can able to analyze and design a solution, a particular solution for a particular problem, right? So it covers like almost all the fields, all important fields which are related to machine learning domain, of course. And at the same time, it will also give you probable solutions or technique, machine learning technique, which can be imposed upon a particular problem, right? So having said that, let's move on to the today's lecture. So starting off with the first topic, like I mentioned. So before that, just to give you an overview, again, machine learning, as I discussed, it is inherently a multidisciplinary field. So in the first lecture, I mentioned there were few doubts also, whether machine learning is a artificial intelligence or artificial intelligence is different. And I mentioned that machine learning is actually can be considered as a part of artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence in its own is a very big field. It's a vast field, right? So machine learning, deep learning, data analytics, data science, these are part of, you can say, which are leading to something can be called as an artificial intelligence, right? So artificial intelligence basically is intelligence of a machine. So in normal terms, when we call as a intelligence, it's a human intelligence, right? So it means when we say artificial intelligence, it is the intelligence possessed by a particular machine. So machine learning is inherently a multidisciplinary field, right? So, and as it is mentioned here, it draws result from artificial intelligence, probability and statistics, with touches upon a few aspects of mathematical, from the mathematical subject, mathematical domain, with respect to probability and statistics. And I think we discussed in the previous lecture that what are the prerequisites to learn this subject, machine learning, right? So you need not to be very expert in these topics, probability, statistics, and statistics, but at least a few basic things of what is a probability, or what are the formulas for computing a particular probability given a particular problem. right? And statistics, what is the mean, derivatives, then standard deviation, and those things, right? And also in some cases, maybe some very few integration part, few one or two steps, integration and differentiation. And not a problem. We will discuss those things as and when we encounter those topics. Moving on, it also draws results from computational complexity theory, control theory, then information theory. You must have heard about game theory as well, right? So, and also it touches upon few aspects of philosophy as well as psychology, because when we talk about intelligence, it is related to mind, and when we talk about mind, it is related to emotions, behaviors, then thinking, which leads to factors like philosophy and psychology, right? So, and like we discussed in the previous lecture, we'll be also touching upon few topics like artificial neural networks, which are inspired by biology. Few like what are neurons, perceptrons, then what is what is a gene, what is genetic algorithm. Genetic algorithm is actually derived from the concept, or inspired by the concept of neurons and genes, right? That is the genetics. So that is neurobiology, which has been part of the machine learning. And of course, there are few other fields. So here are a few examples that I have taken, some disciplines and examples from their influence. Like I discussed in the previous slides, how these results are drawn from these fields called artificial intelligence or philosophy or psychology or neurobiology and those things. So these are few things which touches upon what are the influences from these domain. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, you can see there is learning sim- symbolic representation, of a few concepts. Yeah. So symbolic representation of concepts and machine learning as a search problem. So we have already, maybe in data structures, you have learned about searching algorithms and those things. So how can those searching algorithms can be put into a model, which is a machine learning model, and how those search can be automated or can be predicted. So these are few of the influences drawn. And learning as an approach to improving problem solving using prior knowledge together with training data to guide learning. Right. So this is how basically a human intelligence, forget about artificial intelligence, just intelligence, how a human intelligence works. You all know that we the intelligence basically deals with the thinking, the decisions that you make, right? And the decisions that you make, they actually come from your past experiences. So whatever you have experienced in your previous, so far in your life, so those subconsciously, knowingly or unknowingly, contribute towards your uh, present and future decision making capabilities, right? So similar is the case when it comes to machine learning or artificial intelligence. The machine is able to make some decisions or comes to a particular conclusion or a assumption or hypothesis, what we discussed in the previous lecture, only after it has gone through a particular training, a prior knowledge, a prior understanding of a particular concept, which may lead to some kind of you know decisions, some kind of conclusions or assumptions or hypotheses. Then talking about Bayesian methods, the Bayesian theorem as the basis for calculating probabilities for hypothesis, the naive Bayes classifier, we'll discuss this, what is naive Bayes classifier. Then algorithms for estimating values of unobserved variables, right? Estimating the values of those unobserved variables using some algorithms. Then few of the influences are already, they're drawn from the computational complexity theory. So theoretically bound. on the inherent complexity of different learning tasks measured in the terms of computational effort. Right? We'll look up to an example how these things are related. The number of training examples, number of testing examples, number of mistakes, etc., and required in order to learn. Right? So whenever we train a particular model, whenever we trying to you know train a particular machine, then of course we need to work upon a few data sets which deals with few variables, few parameters, few you can say examples which deals with training a particular model, so that the model can look upon those data and draw some conclusion out of it and can learn, and then later we can test that model how far it has learned, how better it has learned, right? So we'll take a few examples of these things also. Then control theory has also been a part of influence to draw a result in the machine learning. Right? The procedures that learn to control processes in order to optimize predefined objectives, and that learn to predict the next state of process they are controlling. Right? So you have learned about automata theory, right? Computational theory, automata theory. Then you can recall the concepts that you have learned in the automata theory, that you have few state, initial state, maybe intermediate state, and then a final state. So how a machine can decide when to enter what state? How a computer or a machine can come to know what state presently it is in, and where I have to go now after this state, right? So this can be used using the control theory. So whatever you have learned, you can recall those concepts, and you can think from the perspective of a machine learning, how a machine can behave when asked or put into such situations to decide a particular state or this. These states are nothing but it can be your decisions. When you have a particular problem, you have a few decisions to make. So let's say decision one is state one, decision two that leads to something can be state two, and likewise. So these decisions are nothing but different states, and you can recall how a particular state can change its course of action or its flow given a particular input. Then information theory also draws influences when it talks about machine learning, that is measures of entropy. We'll learn what is entropy and information content, and minimum description length approaches to machine learning basically. Then optimal codes. What are optimal codes? What are their relationship to optimal training sequences for encoding a hypothesis? Right? How to encode a hypothesis? How to draw an hypothesis? There are different types of hypothesis: maximum hypothesis, minimum hypothesis, and so on. So, as I said, philosophy like Occam's razor. Don't worry about these terms; these are related to deep psychology. But what the main motive here is to make you understand how machine learning is relevant to philosophy. Then suggesting that the simplest hypothesis is the best, right? You must have all, we all have heard this quote: "Keep it simple," or the simpler the better, right? So similar is the case. That is actually the philosophy. The more you think deep, the more things get complicated. Maybe you will lead to decisions which are not to be meant at that particular moment, and things like that. So even philosophy says that keep the things simple, right? So suggesting that the simplest hypothesis is the best. Analysis of the justification for generalizing beyond observed data, what is not visible, what is not observed, analyzing those things and justifying those things. Then psychology and neurobiology, like I mentioned earlier, the power law of practice, which states that over a very broad range of learning problems, people's response time improves with practice according to the power law. I think all of you agree to this. Like people's response times improves with the practice, right? neurobiological studies motivating artificial neural network, like I mentioned earlier, artificial neural network plays important role when we talk about machine learning. We will have this is another very interesting field. Many of the advanced applications which deals with the applications of machine learning which are there, they deals with the artificial neural network. So we will learn about what are the different types of artificial neural network, what are the different layers in the neural network, uh, then models of learning and so on. There are different things which we will encounter as and when we proceed. I think artificial neural network is the part of our fourth module. Let me check, or maybe third. Yeah, it's the part of our third module, right? So first module basically covers of the introduction, and second module will make our hands dirty, getting into the things of how machine learning, can be observed from the uh, decision tree learning perspective. Statistics, like I said again, is another area of influence for the machine learning. Characterization of errors. Errors are nothing but the bias or variance, like standard deviation, variance, mean variance, what we usually used to compute when we learned about the concepts of statistics. Right. So characterization of errors, how those errors can lead to, how those errors can be minimized, or what error can be better compared to the other possible errors that we have. Right. So characterization of those errors that occur when estimating the accuracy of the hypothesis. Right. So whenever we will estimate those hypotheses or the assumptions or approximations that we will be making, right, which will be based on a limited sample data. So confidence intervals and statistical tests and so on can be the part. Another example can be statistics, maybe taking up the current scenario, the statistics with respect to the COVID situations, right? The statistical data that we have. Let's say we have limited sample of data, right? So of course, when we have limited sample of data, we will have few shortcomings. We may have to encounter errors. Then how can we characterize those errors? How can we select a particular error so that we can estimate the accuracy of a particular hypothesis? So that can be another example when it comes to influences from a statistics point of view. So here are a few of successful applications of machine learning. Of course, I have discussed few examples here. We can have at present we have many more examples, but these examples I have taken from textbook so that you can relate it to it. And from the textbook has been written quite a while ago. So we have few advanced in practice applications which are from the machine learning. So you may have more examples than this. Talking about the first thing, that is learning to recognize spoken word, right? In simple terms, that is speech recognition. So in 1989, we had a system called a Finks system, which was quite popular for recognizing speeches, which was the first system to do so. But right now we have so many more advanced, trained and tested applications which are into practice. Talking about application that is, we have Siri, we have Alexa, and so on. Right. So these are the examples again which deals with the speech recognition systems which employ machine learning in some or the other form. So Sphinx system was actually developed by Lee in 1989. Learning to drive an autonomous vehicle is another successful application. Why successful? Because we do have in practice real time application, that is the autonomous vehicle recently developed by Tesla, right? But the first application that we had was again in the year 1989 by Pomerleau, which was the Alvin system, popularly known as the Alvin system, which was again a machine learning method which had been used to train a computer controlled vehicle, which was controlling the steering wheel, uh, which was used to steer correctly when driving on a variety of road types or terrains, right? So this can another be example, and another, I mean, in the same perspective, in the same system, that is the Alvin system. Uh, the Alvin system was the first system to be successfully tested, and the system was successfully, uh, you know, was successful in driving 70 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour with the speed of 70 miles per hour for distance of 90 miles, which was a great milestone uh, for the system back then in 1989. Right now, we have so many automated vehicles which can drive thousands of miles together, but at that moment in during those times, the Alvin system was the first to make the to touch the milestone of 90 miles without the help of human intervention, uh, or the human mind or a human driver physically being present there. So the Alvin system was successfully able to drive 90 miles with the speed of 70 miles per hour. Another successful application of machine learning can be learning to classify new astronomical structures. So this is quite evidently used by the NASA team. The decision tree learning algorithms have been used by NASA to learn how to classify the celestial objects. Right. So we have so many celestial bodies uh, out there in the space. So NASA has been using this algorithm, the decision tree learning algorithm, to learn the classification of those celestial bodies. There are different ways to do it, cluster analysis and those things. We will learn about those concepts also. So another, again, very much popular application for machine learning, one of the successful tried, tried and tested applications for machine learning is uh, games, right? There are so many games which are automated. One of the example here which has been taken here is the backgammon. Uh, Most of you must know about this game. Maybe a few of you might not know about this game. Even I got to know about this game. When I saw checkers. Checkers, you must have all know. Checkers, you can simply Google it. Maybe you must have seen it, but you don't know what checkers look like. Maybe back then when you had small game sets, a set of game boards, chessboard at the back of it. Some games, sometimes you might find checkers, right? So backgammon is something like checkers. It is actually different from checkers, but somewhat you can relate it to it. So machine learning system was the one system that is called TD Gammon. It is actually a system, a computer which was developed to play this game at world class level. The world's top computer program for backgammon was given to the Gammon, right, which was developed in the year 92, and then later it was implemented and successfully tested and implemented in 95. So, so this system learned its strategy by playing over 1 million practice games against itself. So you must now you must be wondering, like, later, I mean, when you used to play chess with this system, how is this particular system is able to gauge my moves and able to take decisions and taking very good decisions, in fact. So now, as and when we proceed, we'll be learning about those algorithms. So you'll be able to, observe how these games might be automated to learn those, moves by gauging your movements in the game. So I think there are a few more systems which are lately developed around 2001, 2007 onwards. There is another game which was developed for poker's game. I don't quite recall the name of the system which was developed, but that particular system was actually being successfully tested and uh, was a part of a world-class championship, which in which the system stood second. So it was quite an achievement for the developers uh, at that level, because it was all done using the machine learning techniques. And of course, there are few other fields which are involved, like artificial intelligence, deep learning. It's not just machine learning, but deep learning, and also the whole of data science involved. It's a big field. So being discussed about these things, let me know about you. I mean, what is your take on this? Does it find interesting to you? Let me know in the chat box. Does it find interesting to you, or does it gives you a few insights, at least few insights about what machine learning could be? Okay, so I can see there are few people who are really enthusiastic and are willing to learn. Uh, Ravi says yes, Shreyas says yes, Ketan is interested. In fact, Ketan and Prajwal, I would like to know, I would like to tell you guys, I mean, you must have already knowing this classmate, classmates, you guys must be already knowing. But those who don't know, let me tell you, Prajwal, Ketan, and I think Madhuri is also, they are working on a research paper uh, which deals with machine learning techniques, and they are working on project with deals with COVID, right? So it'll be quite challenging for them because there is not much data or the prior work which has been done with respect to these fields, right? So it'll be quite challenging, but I really appreciate the effort that they have taken to come forward and at least start the research, so that in the meantime there will be very much, I mean, lot of things that they'll be encountering and they'll be learning a few interesting aspects. So I hope the same enthusiasm will be able to see in other other students, maybe in your class itself, and maybe you can think upon doing similar thing. Uh, Maybe not with the COVID or something, but maybe which is already existing. A part of it can be taken as a research and can be improvised, and a better version can be presented. So I would really encourage the team, Ethan, Prajwal, and Madhuri, and the team involved with them. And I would also encourage the other students to come up with few, at least start the work so that it will be learning for you. Fine. So I can see around 10 to 15 people who are interested, which is good. Maybe those who are don't finding it interesting now, later you might get the things, uh, you may find these things interesting. So coming upon the topic again, yeah. So well-posed learning problems. So this is where our first module actually starts. So I'll quickly cover what is the you know what a problem can, when a problem can be called as a well-posed learning problem, right? So first of all, to understand that, what can we call as a learning, we have to understand that first. What can be called as a learning? What is learning for us, or what is learning from a machine learning point of view? Learning can be anything. When we talk about the learning as a term, as a dictionary meaning, it's a very broad, it has a very broad definition to it. But when we talk about learning as a machine learning, the definition which the author gives is perfectly fits into what can be called as a machine learning, right? So it says that a computer program is set to learn from experience, let's say we call it as E, with respect to some class of tasks, a set of tasks, right? A set of variety of tasks. Let us call it as a class of tasks, denoted as capital T, and performance measure, right? Definitely, we are looking forward for a better performance, so we will be measuring that performance. Performance measure with denoted with a capital P, if its performance at task in T, as measured by P, improves with experience E, right? So let me narrate it once again. A computer program is set to learn from experience E with respect to some class of tasks T and performance measure P if its performance at task in T as measured by P involves with experience. Right. So I hope you all agree with me. But to understand more in depth with this, let's take an example. Let's have an example of playing a game, a computer program that learns to play a game. Let's take an example of checkers itself. a computer program that learns to play a checkers might improve its performance as measured by its ability to win, right? So the number of wins by the system can be called as a performance. The no, more number of wins by the system, we can say that the performance is increasing or getting better, right? So the measured by its ability to win at the class of task, a set of tasks involving playing checkers game. Playing checkers game is one of the tasks through experience. Now, through experience obtained by what? Obtained by playing games against it, right? Playing games against it, or maybe in some cases playing games against another system, or maybe with another person, right? So that can be called as a learning for it. So the more number of times the system can win, that can be called as a increase in the performance. So let me move on and have a well-defined learning problem. A well-defined learning problem can be identified by these features. There are three predominant features that we look upon when we talk about a well-defined learning problem, because not every problem can be a learning problem. There might be few problems which may not be easy to learn. So a well-defined learning problem can have these three features. Definitely it will have these three features. The first one being the class of tasks, right? What task it is. So we'll have an example. What kind of task? It can be like we discussed. It can be a task of winning a particular game. Let it be a chess, let it be a checkers, let it be a poker, or anything. Let it be Ludo for that matter. Then a second feature, most important, is the measure of performance to be improved. The measure of performance to be improved. It is not just the performance. There can be a point in time wherein the performance, we might get a performance, but there will be no improvisation beyond that. So we cannot say that this feature is having any effect. There has to be a measure of performance which has to be improved. And the third feature is the source of experience. So like we discussed in the previous slide, this one of the source of the experience can be the previous games which has been played by itself or by another system, right? So these are the three predominant features which we may have to look upon while selecting a well-defined learning problem. So if you guys are looking for a particular problem for a research, something like that, then this is what you have to look forward for selecting a problem, because selecting problems become very essential. In fact, most of the time have been has to be given to select a particular problem, and not just hurry up to select a problem and later decide this problem was not sufficient to be processed and skip or switch on to the problem. So it's better to give more time to select a particular problem, and these are the factors which you have to look upon while selecting a problem. Okay, so moving on, let's take an example of checkers itself, like we discussed in the previous slides. That the this slide basically gives you the idea of how these features can play a role in this particular problem of playing a checkers game. So let's say we have a task T playing check. So our first feature is task T playing checkers. Second feature is the performance measure P with the percent of game won against opponent. So performance can be in a form of percentage or just in the form of numbers, or it can be anything. It depends. So let's say performance P measurements is percentage of the game won against an opponent. The third feature is like we discussed, the training experience. The training experience can be playing practice games against itself. It can be one of the training experience. Right. So let's take another example, handwriting recognition learning problem. Right. How an handwriting is detected. The best example you can it can be the language detection, you can say, or maybe if you have used Google Lens. Google Lens is the best example, an application, real-time application that we have for handwritten recognition. You can simply use your Google Lens to point out to a particular signboard or maybe a board or a board which has a language which you don't understand. So a Google Lens will you know make use of that text available on that signboard, or maybe just a board, just call it a board, which has a text which you don't understand, and the Google will be able to understand that language and can able to translate at the same time and give you the same context in the language that you prefer. So that is in vague terms. Definitely there is more things attached to it, but I'm just trying to relate to how handwriting recognition can be a learning problem. Learning with respect to machine. Let's keep it like machine learning problem. So task T can be recognizing and classifying the handwritten words within a image, or it can be an image, or it can be a real-time camera image. Then performance measure P, percentage of words correctly classified, right? There might be few text or a few words which may not be successfully recognized. So those might lead to an error. So ultimately degrading the performance, right? So that can be that's how we can measure the performance, that the percentage of the words which are incorrectly classified. Training experience, a database of handwritten words, right? We can provide a system with a database. Let's say, for example, you guys have written a journal, and everybody's handwriting might be different. So that those journals which you have given to us in a PDF form, those PDF form data can be given to a machine which can be able to detect those handwriting, and you know uh, detect the handwriting, and at the same time detect few keywords, and at the same time allot few grades or marks if those keywords are present there, right? Just giving an example. So a database of handwritten words with given classification. Of course, we need to give the classification. If this particular word is so and so, then what is the classification? What do we have to perform once we have that word, right? So this is another example. Another example can be, like I mentioned in the starting of the lecture, that auto-driven car or auto-driven vehicle, right, or a robot driving a vehicle can be a suitable, well-posed learning problem, a well-posed machine learning problem. So in the task that we have, that is the first feature that we have under robot driving learning problem, will be the driving on a public, let's say a four lane highway using a vision camera. So there are a lot of hardwares involved in such kind of projects, definitely. But the problem here is the task here is just to make the machine drive on a four-lane highway using a vision camera. So performance can be the average distance traveled, right? Like I mentioned in the initial part of the lecture, that the one of the system which was successfully able to drive 90 miles with the speed of 70 miles per hour, which is quite successful attempt for the team. So that can be called as a performance measure. The performance measure, that is average distance traveled before an error, or the error here can be before it makes a collision or a hit to a pole or to other vehicle, maybe or any object, anything, or a divider. So, or it can be error wherein human intervention was required there, or a human uh, input was required there. That can also be a point of failure, we can say. So performance can be the average distance traveled before an error, as judged by a human. And the third feature for this particular problem can be the training experience. How a training experience can be relevant to it is the sequence of images, because what we are doing here is we are providing the images in order to make some decisions to the system, and in order to train that, what we are going to do is we are going to provide sequence of images and steering commands, right? Sequence of images. Let's say you have some object on the right side, so definitely you are supposed to move the steering wheel at the left side. So a training experience can be a sequence of images and steering commands recorded while observing a human driver. Let's say we have a video recorded of a human driver driving on a regular road, and the sequence of images can be images which are taken from the driver's perspective, from the windshield, right? And the steering command, which were actually given by the human, that particular driver, that can be identified, and that can be given as a training samples to the system, so that the system can learn on its own when to turn, when to make steering left or right, depending on the sequence of images or the data that we have in front of them, right? So that can be another example. So I hope you can relate it to some more example. I hope this lecture will open up the thinking, and you can yourself think of few more examples, few more problems wherein machine learning can be implemented, wherein machine learning can play its role, right? So it is not just machine learning cannot be just restricted to these particular problems. It can be so much beyond that. Right. So I'm definitely sure that you can think upon few more examples. So I would say whatever you find interesting, whatever you feel, definitely I'll be happy to see that you can note down these points in your maybe a notebook. You can maintain a notebook for this, and which can later be submitted as a part of your assignment. We will see that later, not exactly this, but you can start away this work. You can whatever you feel important here, you can make a note of it, and later it can be made as a part of your assignment. So I would suggest to do this. Fine, and let me take a poll in the chat section. Yeah. So, can anybody else tell me what more problems can be, can be a part of can be called as a well-posed learning problem for a machine learning domain? Yeah, the chat section is open for you. Anybody who can think of any more problem which deals with machine learning. Okay, definitely. Let's keep this COVID again apart. Any more example? Yeah. Okay. So let me share the screen so that the comment is also visible to you. Yes. So I hope you can see this. Yeah. So Ravi says that learning about the feature or for the any company, okay, for any particular company, okay, based on its sales, very good, and the products dispatches, very good. So sales, number of sales can be called as can be taken as the performance measure P for the for that particular company, and the total number of sales which the increases, if the total number of sales increases, let's say quarter wise, then we can say there is a change in the performance measurement, there is an increase in the performance, right? Overall, we can say a task can be to identify the performance of a company or a number of sales of that particular company, whether the company is developing or not, right? So product dispatches can be one of the factor through which we can compute the performance, right? Yeah. So Alphonse says that for making assumptions, okay, can you give an example of what kind of assumptions? Okay, let me give you more time on it. You can think upon those things and we can later discuss in the next lecture. Okay, let me give you this as an, you can call it homework or an assignment or whatever, but just a thought that you have to give a thought on this topic, that whatever we have discussed today, you have to think of few more problems which can be called as a well-posed machine learning problems. Okay, so I hope you all will come up with few more problems in our next lecture. So I think we should wind up here. So let me conclude the lecture, and thanks for all for joining. And if you have the test book with you, you can go up, you can look upon whatever we have discussed today in depth. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you. You can leave.